Esports stands for electronic sports. The word esport is used to describe any video game that has a professional competitive scene, especially among professional gamers on every level and skill. A lot of issues related to esports in Malaysia are extremely famous, and Ministry of Sport and Youth is still thinking about how to manage the issues. The person who is involved in this case are Syed Sadiq bin Syed Abdul Rahman, the Ministry of Sport and Youth. The issues will impact the country if the person who involved in these cases did not take action immediately.
Plans for esport improvements are to establish several strategic targets to ensure Malaysia's continued excellence in esports and become one of the most important economic areas in the esport world. The vision is to promote a sustainable esport ecosystem, while the mission is to propel Malaysian esport to greater heights, and the goals are divided into 3 levels. The community level is to better understand and participate in esport. The competitive level is for Malaysian esport athletes to achieve success at the international level. Lastly, the industry level is an esport industry as positive impacts to Malaysia. SWOT analysis has 4 categories: strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities. Strengths: that esport growing popularity worldwide as a competitive and spectator sport. On the other side, weaknesses are that lack of policy and official guidelines. What's more, threats: that negative perception not acceptable as a traditional esport and regional competitions. For opportunities, esport is the first to launch esport strategic plans. Better access to esport infrastructure for Malaysia is one of the primary efforts and catalysts. By implementing national and esport hub development plan to create a national esport hub and a state esport hub. To develop a national esport academy to foster the growth of the esport business in a professional and controlled setting. Plus, to build and establish a physical national sport academy. In conclusion, it's nurturing and expediting the growth of esport in Malaysia, as well as it will experience tremendous growth and strengthen its position as the leading esport hub in Southeast Asia.
Specialization. As a country with a total of more than 40 million games enthusiasts, Malaysia has the nice ability to lead the development of esport in Southeast Asia. The country has a large pool of gamers, a steadfast growth in esports players, an increasing number of esport events, and most importantly, backing from the authorities of Malaysia. The Ministry of Sports needs to work together with the Ministry of Education to encourage students. Besides, the ministry can introduce the term esport to the world as a new culture that is gaining popularity among teenagers. Given the fact that esport is developing faster than every other enterprise, it can also turn their passion for gaming into a viable career for teenagers. The planned objective to cater to all stakeholders across the esports scene. A task force was created, comprising of the industry leaders, esports senior marketing officer, professional esports athlete, as well as the National Sport Council and the Ministry of Youth and Sport himself. By doing this method, esport has immense potential and is thus not a hobby but is proven career internationally. Chain of command. With the support of another ministry and sufficient funds, we can develop esport in Southeast Asia with the support of the Government of Malaysia. With the recently announced budget 2019, esport has been under the spotlight, and 10 million was allocated to grow the Malaysian esport scene. With such high quality information among enterprise players, esport lovers are buzzed with the future of esport activities in Malaysia. Centralization and decentralization. There are also advantages and disadvantages of organizing the issue of esports. The Sport Minister Syed Sadiq made the decision exclusively in the hands of the top management to appoint competent athletes for esport to expand into Southeast Asia in order of control of athlete photo rights, which are normally owned via the organization, and sponsorship cash does not accrue directly to the athlete but organization in accordance to the settlement. ESM, as the national official, ought to additionally usually conduct workshop.
Decision making. Decision making is a decision which has been made by selecting or choosing from a set of options. It is a constant dynamic activity that affects all other organizational operations. But we can identify the alternative to making the final choice. This method enhances the chance that you will select from the option. The importance of the decision making is it is an essential to attain unity of action in coordination and control to decide how the standard will be formed, how the principles will be developed, how instruction will be delivered, and so on. It can bring benefits to the organization and it can be contributed as an establishment of a collaborative work atmosphere and clear communication among various stakeholders. The strategy that been provided in this decision making is through Sports and Youth announced Sport Integrated ESI project. I will take part on focusing on to developing an integrated framework by launching the following project requires by creating a platform and manage the country e-sport ecosystem. Malaysia e-sport circuits will be established. ESI will help featuring the development capacity building program. Netherlands will host competition and event providing training and network to players, coaches, and AirAsia launch esports hubs. AirAsia has revealed attention to build an esports hub in Klang, and AirAsia has been launched as a support to Malaysia esports, where they have an AirAsia esports zone in their office and both a Mobile Legends squad in 2018. Then KBS created a strategy plan as a guideline for the growth of local ecosystem, whereas as national esports body must draw up a guideline to guard the integrity to prevent cheating and abuse by learning from the past esports event.
Definition of controlling: the process of regulating organizational activities so that actual performance conform to expected organizational standards and goals is known as controlling. Since most organizational activities ultimately depends on human behavior, control is primarily concerned with ensuring that employees behave in ways in which achieve organizational goals. Control may be defined as a managerial role that entails the process of monitoring operations to ensure that they are carried out as intended. The importance of controlling esports. Esports is a rapidly expanding sports industry with 148 million fans and worldwide players, as well as large sums of money, prizes, and sponsorships. Furthermore, esports can make use of youth knowledge, technology, and skills. There are 5 steps of the controlling process in esports. The first is to prepare athletes by providing job prospects and funding for participation in international events. Second, it promotes responsible gaming and esports ethics by safeguarding esports legitimacy. Third, improve access to esports infrastructure by establishing national and state esports centers. Fourth, by improving the game sector, create a long-term esports environment. Lastly, by licensing esports training centers and stadiums around the country, you can establish strong regulation and governance. In conclusion, esports gaining popularity as the coronavirus disrupts live sporting events.
In conclusion, our suggestion for dealing with the issues is to create a strategic plan for esports development that will serve as a guide to regulate protocol within the industry and prevent known issues. If the Ministry of Sport and Youth did not plan a strategic planning, esports will back off from the industries in Malaysia. Lastly, we can bring esports into the mainstream with the help of fellow citizens and government agencies.